This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
A little Heat, a little NBA, and I think we've got a couple of things to talk about here, right? Anthony Chiang, I'm sure he's been busy keeping up with everything going on with the Miami Heat. And Anthony, yesterday we had Ira on, as obviously every day of the week we have NBA insiders all throughout the week here, and that's the idea on the platform. And he was telling us that PJ Tucker was dead set on being a $10 million player, something that the Miami Heat could not make happen. Was it really all about that? I mean, it kind of sucked to see him go to Philadelphia.
Yeah, what I was told was that at this stage of his career, at 37 years old, he wanted the most guaranteed money possible. And the Heat's offer wasn't a bad one. 3 years, $27 million, guaranteed at 37. That's not a bad offer. But at the end of the day, Philly was willing to give him more. They were willing to use that non-taxpayer exception that Miami wasn't willing to use because they didn't want to get hard capped. And he got $6-7 million more from Philly. People are pointing to the same income tax, but it's only a 3% tax over there, so it's not much. So he came away with more money. So all power to PJ, but the Heat drew a line and they weren't going to go past that final offer they gave him.
Yeah, no, obviously, and he was dead set on getting that money. Yep. So they end up re-signing Dedmon to a 2-year, $9 million deal. So he's 4.5 against the cap. Oladipo gets a 1-year, $11 million deal. What's next now for Miami? How do they make up for the Tucker stuff? You know, we talked a little bit about Bobby Portis. Well, he re-signed already. We talked about John Collins. He's still available. Will Atlanta keep all three guys? Murray, Trae Young, and John Collins. I kind of have a hard time believing that. So what's going on with John Collins? What's going on with Jay Crowder? Another option for Miami. Where do they fill the PJ Tucker void, or can they?
Yeah, there's some Jay Crowder interest for sure, but I think everything is being held up by Kevin Durant, right? Because there's still a possibility Kevin Durant could replace PJ Tucker, which would be quite the upgrade. Which would be quite the upgrade and replacement for PJ Tucker. And maybe. Phoenix the same, a little bit, yeah. And Phoenix is also obviously in the Kevin Durant game, and they can't think about trading Jay Crowder right now because they might need Jay Crowder to pull off a trade, or they might need Jay Crowder if they trade half their roster for Kevin Durant. So it's kind of a waiting game right now to see until Kevin Durant makes a decision, until the Nets make a decision of how this is going to unfold. You would think maybe in the coming days, we might have to wait. Like, things have been put on pause. Obviously, Caleb Martin is still out there. He's a possible replacement for PJ. He can play the 4 a little bit at forward, but other than that, things are getting thin as far as free agency because so many of the top guys signed or agreed to terms yesterday. Guys still available, I have my list right here. Otto Porter Jr., TJ Warren, Caleb Martin, Cody Martin. There just isn't a lot of big names available right now.
I'm just thinking about TJ Warren and Butler in the same locker room. That's all I'm thinking about right now.
Interesting. Be some good stories.
Although TJ Warren has had so many injuries in his career.
Yeah.
That I would be I know he's kind of stayed away from it in the last year. And it's kind of interesting, because he's headed into free agency. I would stay away from him just because of the injury history that TJ Warren has had overall. But he does have talent. I will say that.
Yeah, he can score.
I don't know if he's the same player anymore because of all those injuries now over the last couple of years. But so what's going on before we get into all the Durant mess? I want to kind of leave that because I know that's the last and juicy question. John Collins, what is the possibilities, or are we waiting? Like you just said, here's you know what? Let's get to the Durant thing. One of the things that I was thinking about, right? Can Miami match the amount of first rounders that Phoenix can send? No, right?
No.
Okay.
I think Phoenix could offer 4. They have control of 4 first-round picks that they could offer.
And Miami 3 or 2?
Miami has 2 right now, but they could open up a 3rd by amending the protections on a pick deal Oklahoma City, which is possible.
Okay.
So they theoretically can throw 3 first-rounders in a trade.
For Durant, they'll do that happily.
Yeah.
That's not even in the discussion. So okay. So they could give up the 3, but here's the screwed up part about all of this. And the Nets have to be thinking about this. whoever they trade Durant to, the first round picks become worse.
Sure, but the picture will be.
You know what I'm saying?
One of them will be next year, but the others will be in 25 or 26, and then 28. So
But still,
theoretically,
Phoenix is the one that has Durant, so they should be the better team. Or if Miami gets Durant, then they'll be the better team. And so you're giving yourself the worst first rounders to whoever you trade Durant to.
Yeah. Well, that's why both teams would be willing to trade those picks. Brooklyn, without a question. Yeah.
So then it comes down to who has the better players to give. And so do the Nets want young players? So then Cham and some of these guys that they have compared to Tyler and some of the guys Miami has. So when you look at that, you tell me, does Miami have any competition there? I mean, can they compete there with Phoenix when we talk about the active young players that they can trade to Brooklyn?
Yeah, I mean, Phoenix, their package would be basically headlined by DeAndre Ayton, who's a restricted free agent. There's some complications there. Obviously, need to be a sign and trade, base year compensation, which is a very complicated thing as far as matching salaries in a trade. I don't know how much Brooklyn wants DeAndre Ayton, right? DeAndre Ayton has been a little bit of, he's very talented, but he's had some issues in Phoenix. And
he's really not today's center anymore.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, as long as you're going to surround him with a whole bunch of shooters and let him do his defensive rebounding thing and garbage scoring around the basket, then you're all right.
Yeah.
But you better surround him with a whole bunch of shooters because he's not a guy that's going to develop an 18-footer or a 22-footer.
Yeah, and Devin Booker's off the table after signing an extension yesterday with Phoenix. So
I don't think you would trade him anyways because
I don't think
why
so.
Why would you trade Durant and then trade Booker? Then you're back in square one again. You know,
I'm guessing Durant wants to play with Booker, right? Like he wants to go to a team with some good players on it, not gutted.
The whole Carmelo thing has taught people a real lesson from years ago with the Knicks in Denver that Denver traded so much that when Melo ended up getting there, yeah, he got his money, and that's all he really gave a shit about, but he really didn't have the team. The Knicks ended up actually having a better all-around team than Denver did at that moment.
Yeah. No, I agree. But, Kevin Durant, obviously at this stage of his career, it's not about the money, right? He's going to get his money. He's already under contract for 4 more years. It's about going to a really good situation where he could win. And this is the final pretty much stage of his career. He's going to be 34, I believe, or he is 34. Like these last 4 years or these next 4 years are the final 4 years probably of his prime or the back end of his prime, or even he's a little bit past his prime, but he wants to win. And I think both teams give him the opportunity to do that. And that's why they're 2 of his preferred teams. But I think the most interesting about this is how much power is Kevin Durant going to have, right? He doesn't have 1 year left on his deal where he could just say, I'm not going to this team and I'm going to be a free agent next year and you're going to trade all these assets away and I'm not going to resign. He has 4 years left on his deal. But he could do the same thing he's doing in Brooklyn right now in New Orleans. He can do the same thing he's doing right now in Brooklyn and Minnesota and refuse to play and say, I don't want to be here, and make their lives miserable. So, and those teams are not going to trade Zion Williamson for a Kevin Durant who doesn't want to be in New Orleans. So he has some leverage. It's just about how much he's going to use that leverage, I guess, to really get to where he wants to be.
So what's your gut tell you, man? Because I just get the feeling like he's going to Phoenix.
It seems like Phoenix is his favorite is the favorite. I mean, Brian Windhorst from ESPN is reporting that's where Kevin Durant wants to go. Like that's his number 1 place, and Miami.
It just also seems to me like they have the more ammo. Actually,
the Heat
really. What I'm looking at, just being objective.
Yeah, I think the only way he gets to the Heat is if he says, I want to go to Miami, and that's like Pat gets him in a room or they talk to him and say they pitch him on the situation. He says, I want to be there. And basically tells him, let's get a deal done. I don't care how you do it, but I want to go to the Heat. Other than that, it's hard to see a pathway for the Heat to get it done because there's so many other teams that can put together better trade packages. If Bam was able to be included, I'm not saying they would offer Bam, but if Bam was eligible to be traded to Brooklyn, he's not right now because of some weird NBA salary cap rule.
What about that whole thing that could you really trade Bam for Simmons if you really that's the only way you can circumvent that? You can.
It doesn't have to be for Simmons going to Miami. As long as Simmons gets traded somewhere else and it's not on Brooklyn's roster, then Bam can be part of the trade.
You know, I had a segment, I don't know, it was like 7 months ago or something like that. And I said that, you know, when Simmons was before he got traded, I said, really, on it, not that I want him here.
Yeah.
But I have to say, the only place I think that can fix him is Miami, possibly San Antonio. That's it. I think there are very few organizations that have a chance at reaching that kid and making him what he should be, in other words, with his talent. You know what I'm saying? You're never probably going to make him a great shooter, but you can still make him a scorer around the basket because his size and his athleticism
for sure
is just an absolute mismatch for almost anybody. You know, it's like Magic. It just reminds me a lot of Magic in that sense, that Magic was never a great shooter, but he can score like a mother because he was a 6'9" point guard that just could get his shot. And he even learned the baby hook, which is like, and let me tell you something, Anthony, to this day, I wonder how stupid everybody is in the NBA, all these big men, how nobody has taken the time to learn that shot, bro.
Yeah.
How stupid can people be? It's an unstoppable shot for a 6'10", 7-footer. Unstoppable. How do you not learn that shot? If you're not a great three-point shooter, then, dude, it's like that the art of playing with your back against the basket is just disappearing, bro. More and more every day.
Yeah, the game has changed for sure. But look at Andrew Wiggins, what Golden State did with him. It's kind of a similar thing where you go to a really good, stable organization that has a good player development program and has good leadership up top. Like, those players have talent. They were drafted at the top of the draft for a reason. Ben Simmons is another guy that if he's in a good situation, like you said, you might be able to get the most out of him.
Well, hey, listen, Miami said, LeBron, we need you. Would you back your basket a little bit more? That'll improve your efficiency. Oh, Bosh, we want to put you out in the perimeter a little bit more. That'll stretch out our offense, and you have the skill set to do it. So it's part of you having the vision, understanding, and then going out there and teaching the players, and then them, of course, having, you know, the professionalism to dedicate themselves to it. All right, so we talk about Durant. It looks more like the Suns have the inside track right now over the Heat, unless a crazy Ben Simmons type deal where you include Bam to them and we get Simmons, and then the Heat somehow thinks that they can straighten out that reclamation project. I don't know. Whatever. And plus, you do have to plan for life after Lowry anyway. So, okay, if it's not that crazy scenario, because the Suns aren't going to take Ben Simmons off their hands, but if Miami's willing to do it, that might be a little bit of a caveat that might make up for some of the things that they can't make up for. Okay, so that's one crazy scene. Donovan Mitchell, we saw Bradley Beal. He wanted to stay in Loserville. He stayed in Loserville. That's fine. Okay, great. The next guy is Donovan Mitchell. We're not hearing anything whatsoever coming out of Utah, my brother. I mean, it is quiet on all fronts. Gobert, you name it. So how about that as an option for Miami?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard anything personally, but just reading the tea leaves of what Utah's doing, they've let a lot of their rotation players go in the first day of free agency. They traded away, I think, Royce O'Neal.
I like
it's him. He was one of the best defenders, quality, bench player. Yeah, I mean that's kind of like what is Utah just going to blow this up? Are they rebuilding? Does that mean Donovan Mitchell's available?
I don't know what the hell they're doing, bro.
I'm not sure, but it is definitely worth watching if you're a Heat fan, because Donovan Mitchell's a name obviously that's been linked to the Heat for months, for years almost. And yeah, that's another possibility, right? I mean, I think all the attention right now is on Kevin Durant, as it should be. But if they don't get Kevin Durant, Donovan Mitchell is going to be a name that's not going to go away for the Heat. They're going to continue to be linked to him.
Okay, so let's play this game now. So we know Durant wants out. Phoenix and Miami are his lead destinations. realistically, objectively, enough, Heat Nation, relax. Suns have the inside track. Now, the fact that people are using their cap space and they're now, and some people, like the Suns, will have to now trade a lot in order to get Durant, there'll be less players for Donovan. So the more that Utah sits there idle, the more options dry up for them to move Donovan to other destinations. If Miami is patient and they stay flexible, they may not have as much competition for Donovan Mitchell if it continues at this pace. Am I reading it wrong?
No, but it's just the timing of it's going to be interesting if it does happen, if Donovan Mitchell does ask for a trade, because Tyler Hero, as we all know, would be the centerpiece of that type of trade, right? He's their best young asset. Teams would like to have him. If you're trading a star like Donovan Mitchell, you're going to ask for the Heat's rising star in Tyler Hero. When Tyler Hero signs his extension, whenever that is, it could be in September, could be in October, he is going to be almost impossible to trade for the following year. Because of a poison pill rule that when a player signs a contract, it's not into effect, doesn't go into effect for the following year, but basically it makes him kind of untradeable. So if Donovan Mitchell is going to become available, you would want it to be before that. Before Tyler Hero signs that extension, because it's going to be very tough to put together a package, right? I mean, yeah, you could put together a package of, some other guys, but if you don't have Tyler Hero as part of it, I don't know if Utah's going to do it. So the timing of it is going to be very interesting as far as if it happens and when it happens.
Zach LaVine is going to stay in Chicago.
I think all signs point to him staying in Chicago. He hasn't signed or agreed to the deal yet. But all signs point to him staying in Chicago.
Because it looks like the moves they're making around it, it's kind of like they're expecting him to, right? That's what it looks like.
Yeah, that's the expectation.
Yeah, okay. So that because again, I want to clear it up with Heat Nation because, it's options are drying up and whale options are completely drying up for the Miami Heat. And that's why the Donovan Mitchell one is now the one that's kind of intriguing to me, because as much as I would like to see KD here, I almost feel like they would have to gut their team so much that it would kind of set them back in a way. And then it's really going to put a lot of heat on the two stars. It almost remind me of the big three the first year, where you've got, what's the name of that point guard that was over the hill?
Mike Bibby, Carlos Arroyo.
Yeah, bro, Mike Bibby. You've got, pieces like that just weren't good enough to help. And then that's when you needed the Ray Allens and the Battiers and all that to really give them a foundation around the big three to really get it done. I almost feel like that if you trade for Durant, yeah, you'll have Durant and Jimmy, but you're not going to have a lot left over around those guys. And that's what I think the Heat fear also in that. With the Donovan Mitchell deal, you may not have to give up nearly as much.
Yeah, if there's any way that he could keep Bam and Jimmy while trading for Durant, obviously that's the dream scenario for the Heat or any Heat fan. And that would be probably a favorite to win the championship, or definitely one of the favorites. But it's hard to imagine, right? I mean, it's hard to imagine Brooklyn taking a package that doesn't include one of the Heat's two best players.
I think we end up with Simmons. Seriously, if you want Durant, and hey, we have a better deal with the Suns. But if you want the deal, you have to take Simmons. And I bet you that's the only way that deal happens. The Suns don't have to take Simmons because they have the ammunition. But if Brooklyn wants to unload also Simmons and get that headache off, dude, we've had to deal with Harden, we've had to deal with Kyrie, now we've got to deal with Simmons. Let's clean the slate completely. Simmons cannot carry our franchise. We know that. Let's ship him off to Miami. Phoenix won't take him, but Miami might take. Yeah, it's like that old commercial. Give it to Mikey. He'll eat it. He'll eat anything. You know what I mean? Give it to the Heat. They'll reclamate anything, any project out there. They'll turn it around, So I almost feel like in order to get Durant, we're going to have to take that dude in order for it to happen. That's
Maybe.
just
I don't know. I don't know the Heat's appetite for trading Bam or Jimmy, to be honest with you. I don't.
No, not Jimmy.
Bam is 20.
No, they're not trading Jimmy. I'm saying if you trade Bam for Simmons,
Right.
Part of, because in order to get Durant, they're going to want Bam. They're going to want a big centerpiece.
Sure.
So you got to send them Bam and Tyler, but they're going to give you Simmons and Durant in the process.
Yeah. Maybe. Okay. And one thing's for sure, though, I think, just from the first day of free agency and everything we've heard from how the Heat are operating, they're positioning themselves for a trade, like for any guy that becomes available to be in the game. They don't want to be hard capped. They want to keep that flexibility. They obviously are signing guys to these very tradable contracts because you need different levels of salary to complete these trades with this matching salaries and all that. I mean, Dedmon to a $4 million salary, Victor Oladipo, $11 million. Like, these are all different levels of salary that could help, you stack pieces together to complete that type of deal. So they're positioning themselves. They might not get Kevin Durant. They might not get Donovan Mitchell in the next 2 months. But whoever does become available, they want to be in position to get.
Right. They're maintaining flexibility.
Yeah. So
smart.
It'll be interesting to see kind of who, if it's not Durant, if it's not Mitchell, then who's the next guy that wants out.
Yeah, because when they signed the other guys that they brought back, that 31 and 10, they kind of killed their flexibility too. And that put them, and I think they learned their lesson from there. And I like what they've done right now and the way they're positioning themselves. All right, my brother, make sure you follow him at Anthony_Chiang, folks, please. And of course, subscribe to the Miami Herald. Catch his exceptional work there as he continues to follow the craziness of free agency in the Miami Heat. And next week, he'll be in Vegas with us out there. So we are the only platform in town that will be out there for a whole week. So we will be out there with the boys. Anthony, have a great weekend, my friend. Enjoy July 4th. We will catch you next week in Vegas, baby.
Yes, see you in Vegas, Big O. Have a good weekend.
Got it. There you go. The great Anthony Chiang in our liquor split Miami Heat and NBA report.